welcome everybody to another college and career virtual workshop. I'm super excited about today's topic. We're going to go over some scholarship and financial aid information. Another cool thing about this specific workshop, we are going to offer it in English and Spanish, which is going to be awesome for our Spanish-speaking families. I first want to introduce myself. My name is Crystal Lofton. I am the Senior Program Director of College and Career Services at Girls Inc. Tarrant County. I have the privilege of working alongside the high school team that's also on this call. If y'all want to introduce yourselves or say something real quick, I know I see you and J Boss and Stephanie are together. If y'all want to just say something real quick, and then we also have our amazing intern that's on this call, Selma, is joining us today as well. So I'm going to let y'all tell a little bit about yourself and introduce yourselves, and then we'll hop right on it.
I am J Boss, and I'm a program director here at Girls Inc. Work within Fort Worth ISD as well as with high school girls all throughout the district.
I'm Stephanie Swenson, and I am also a program director. I work with college and career, the high school team, the elementary team, and interns.
And I'm Kanai Fennell, a program director as well within Crowley ISD with high school students.
Awesome. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. I'm just going to go over guidelines real quick. There's not many people on the call, but you kind of know the drill. If you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself. If not, you can type all of your questions in the chat box. We will be monitoring the chat box as well. Yeah, that's it. If you want to show your face, we love to see your beautiful faces. If not, you can keep your cameras off. All right, so let's go over the mandated reporting statement, and then I will introduce our wonderful guest that's joining us today.
All right, so for mandated reporting, everything that you say on here, we want you to be able to share. This is a safe space. However, all of the adults on the call, so all of us from Girls Inc. are mandated reporters. And so if you share something that is harmful to yourself or to others, we do have to report that.
You guys, if y'all want to come
However, we will talk to you about it privately after, but we just have to let you know that if there's anything harmful to you or someone else, we have to report it.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Steph. Okay, so now let's hop right into it. I want to first introduce our guest that's joining us today. We have Mr. Ricky here. We have Ms. Jessica here joining us. They are both admission counselors. Mr. Ricky represents Loyola University. Ms. Jessica is representing University of Nebraska-Lincoln. So thank you both for being here. Both of them are affiliates of the Dallas-Fort Worth Admissions Regional Network, also known as DARN. So thank you for joining us today. You both are welcome to tell us a little bit about yourself if you want to. If you don't, it's okay. Y'all can hop right on into the presentation. So I'm gonna pass it over to you guys.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Jessica, if you want to kind of talk about yourself, a little intro.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Jessica Mascote, and I am the one of two Dallas-Fort Worth recruitment specialists here. I am also part of DARN. I'm actually the membership coordinator. I actually am from Oklahoma, so I love Oklahoma, but I also love Texas. I will say I do not like the traffic, but hey, I'm here. I'm always happy to help students, especially because this is something that I'm very passionate about. Going through the whole college process, I never had somebody to help me guide me through, get me there, ask questions, what kind of questions to ask. So I'm happy to be helpful in any way that I can. I've always told myself and students, I want to be somebody that I never had in college. So I'm glad to be here, glad to be able to provide you this information. So.
And my name is Ricky Alarcon. I'm also a DARN member as well, and I work for Loyola University in New Orleans, which we're both regional representatives. So that means there's a group of regional representatives that live here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we're here, again, like Jessica mentioned, to help students kind of find their way and getting into a college that fits them. I'm also from Oklahoma, so I'm from Oklahoma City, born and raised. Me and Jessica actually went to the same undergraduate university, University of Central Oklahoma, which we kind of hold dear to our hearts, right? And but I've been in Texas for, gosh, almost since 2004. So I've worked for a lot of different institutions here in Texas and in Oklahoma. So really briefly, same as Jessica, there was always, and especially if this is going to show my age, but when I was younger, there was definitely not enough resources out there for helping students go to college, right? So I actually did an internship with a TRIO program, Upward Bound, at UCO, and that's what kind of got me into going into helping students and families. So I've been doing this, again, since the early 2000s, and so, it's always a new adventure every year, right? Especially this year with COVID. So again, we're going to talk about financial aid, and so there's a lot, I mentioned a lot of stuff we're going to try to cover. So Jessica, if you want to just share the screen there. And if you just, I'll let you know when to select the next slide, so you can go ahead and hit the next one.
Oh. There you go.
So basically, we're going to cover a couple of topics. We're going to talk about scholarships, and we're also going to talk about your plan on how to apply for these things and FAFSA and so forth. So just very quickly, scholarships, there's all types of different scholarships, right? You hear about full ride scholarships. You hear about things for scholarships for your talent or if your merit. So basically, university scholarships are broken down into these three big areas. So we have our merit scholarships, which basically looks at your GPA, your test scores, if they're still looking at those, leadership opportunities. My school is a fine arts school. We're mostly known for fine arts. So we have a lot of music scholarships, students that have that musical talent, and of course athletics. So there are universities that will give students scholarships for their athletic abilities. So you have those. So that's probably the number one source where you're going to see scholarships for students. The one thing that in this bullet I want you to point out is the priority deadline. So you want to make sure that you, first of all, know what kind of scholarships you're applying for and make sure the deadline. My school, University of Nebraska, UT, North Texas, whatever school, they're all going to have different deadlines. So you want to make sure that you know when these priority deadlines are. Because it could vary. Jessica's could be different at Nebraska, mine's could be different. So that's very important that we highlight that. Another opportunity that you can get for more scholarships are the community and local scholarships. We call these sometimes third-party scholarships. So like your Boys and Girls Club, if an organization like the Knights of Columbus or a religious organization or maybe a community service organization, they might offer local scholarships as well. I got one when I was in high school from our local Coca-Cola bottling plant gave scholarships for students in the Oklahoma City area. So I was nominated and my counselor nominated me for that. So definitely there's a lot of scholarships out there for that as well. And then we have national scholarships. So you might hear of National Merit Scholarship. There's Hispanic National Merit Scholarship. So you might hear some of these national awards. So students might qualify for those as well. And definitely some other outside resources. So like your church, if your parents' employment, places of work, if even places where you might work, you might be surprised that they offer scholarships to help students go on to college. And then here's some other ones that Jessica kind of put down on here, chegg.com, scholarships, and FastWeb. So a lot of these opportunities they're free of charge, these resources here, especially these internet sources. And that's what I posted on the next slide if you want to go on.
I did want to chime in really quick.
Yeah.
So as far as going back to leadership scholarships, sometimes when you are applying to an institution, you want to make sure if there's a separate application for those leadership scholarships or not. not. I know there are some universities that embed those scholarships in one application. As far, just giving an example here with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, we do have our scholarship statement that students are able to fill out. However, they can go ahead and actually save that for later, so they can come back at another time, go back to their application. Even when it's already submitted, they can go back, do their leadership scholarship, because that particular scholarship is not due until February. So students want to be aware of if there's separate applications or scholarship applications for the academic and leadership ones. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that.
Yeah, that's a good, definitely a good point to bring out, because our leadership scholarship actually for us as well, it's a December 1st deadline. So our other scholarships are due on February 15th. But if you want some of these leadership scholarships, there could be different deadlines. And of course, if you want like our music scholarships, like Jessica was saying, there's some extra steps for like applying. For those, you have to either do an audition or an interview with our department. So definitely a good point that you brought up, Jessica. And then these are some other websites that I've highlighted when I talk to students and parents about additional scholarships. Now, all these resources are free of charge. So College Board is very popular. The JLV counseling scholarship list, I believe if you put your information on there every month, they will remind you of new scholarships that are available for that month. And it's a free of charge service as well. So these are some great resources that are free of charge. The next one is basically, we're going to talk about FAFSA. So I talk about scholarships, university, outside, third party, and this is where a lot of our institutions, a lot of students will get additional money from the institution. So we're a private school. So when people see our tuition and fees and the cost per year, we're about $55,000. And people are like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. So a lot of our students will get merit scholarships, but they will also get FAFSA awards. So FAFSA, again, is the free application for federal student aid. Pretty simple to complete. Make sure it opens in October of your senior year. And just make sure the deadlines, there's different deadlines per state. I believe Texas is around, it used to be January. I don't know if it still is, or at least the early part of the year. But again, the earlier the better. So just because the deadline's there, if you want to be a go-getter and get it out of the way, definitely do so. FAFSA will cover a couple of items. The grants, which is money that you don't have to pay back. It'll cover work study and it'll cover loans. Those are the big three areas that it'll cover. And remember, FAFSA looks at how much the school costs and then how much your family is able to pay. So if there's a big enough gap between those two, that's where FAFSA is supposed to kick in and help you close the gap as much as possible. So that's, again, you look at the cost of attendance. Every university will have their list of how much it costs per year. And then a lot of them will have net price calculators, which basically is a great tool to you can put your financial information in there, your GPA, if it's a test optional school or test required school, you can put your test scores in there and it'll tell you exactly tell you a ballpark figure about how much aid you can expect. And that's the #1 resource I tell students to check it out to see if the school that you're looking at could be a possible choice for you.
And then just reiterating back to the FAFSA, the expected family contribution. So a lot of the schools should be also looking into this as far as scholarships. So whenever it is the time to award scholarships, provide scholarship packages for students, we look into the EFC. So, the sooner you go ahead and start getting the FAFSA in, the better. As far as I will say with Nebraska, as far as with us, once you submit your application, and then if you decide to also submit your leadership scholarship as well, we'll look into all that information and then we'll provide you with an early decision as well as what scholarships you would be awarded. So the sooner you get that FAFSA done, the better.
Awesome. And I kind of put this in here for students. Again, this is a Texas scholarship, or I guess financial aid. So for Texas residents that don't qualify for the FAFSA, which usually is for our students that are non-citizens, there is the TASFA. You can kind of go through that website, collegeforalltexans.org, and it'll ask you a couple of questions if you're unsure whether to fill out the TASFA or the FAFSA. Now the TASFA is only for Texas universities. Unfortunately, Louisiana, we don't do much for students that are undocumented. And I don't know if Jessica wants to chime in for Nebraska, but we don't do much. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to give them much more Loyola. Like Loyola has more grants that we could try to give to the student and to try to help them cover that.
Yeah, as far as for when it comes to FAFSA, anything in general, as far as undocumented students, there is a separate way for you. If your parents, you know, of course, you would have to fill out or include I believe it's called the I-10 number that's required for students to go ahead and fill that out. For Nebraska, of course, I will say if you're coming out of state, it's going to be a little bit more difficult as far as those scholarships for undocumented students. A lot of scholarships, if you're looking into that, local would probably be the better way to go about, you know, the university that you're interested in, just because local communities do offer scholarships specifically for DACA and undocumented students. A lot of those that I've seen are coming from nonprofit organizations. I've worked with undocumented students before, as well as DACA students. So if you guys have any questions specifically outside of this that you want to ask, feel free to contact myself. I will provide my information at the end of the slide. So it is a little bit different when it comes to that. So just contact me.
And the last thing is the College Scholarship Service, the CSS. So there's some universities that will require you to take an extra step. So they might either have you do the FAFSA and the CSS profile. Basically, it's just a way for them to kind of get them more, because remember, FAFSA takes a snapshot of your family's financial situation, like it could be 2 years back or 2 years prior, as they say. But CSS is more in depth, so they'll ask you more about they'll ask you more financial questions to kind of get a better picture. So when you apply to school, especially East Coast, West Coast schools, you might see them require that CSS, and that's through College Board. And usually your high school counselor will know how to access that, or reps like ourselves. You talk to those different representatives and they'll help you figure that out.
Mm-hmm. And I do, just because we touched base on the DACA and undocumented part as far as FAFSA, I just want to reiterate, for anything government, federal, students who are undocumented or DACA students will not be able to receive that funding. However, they are able to pull the student aid report to utilize that as like a need-based evidence for other private scholarships through a foundation that provides you know, evidence of need-based financial aid, etc. But like I said, if you want more specifics, I'm more than happy to provide you with information. My contact will be at the end.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then this is a great thing to do as well. Make another spreadsheet. So hopefully you're making a spreadsheet when you research the universities. You want to see how big or large the schools are, if they offer your major, are they in a big city, are they located in a rural part of the US, and so things like that. But also you want to make one for the scholarship information, right? So the scholarships, what are their deadlines? Like Jessica mentioned, there might be different types of scholarships, different deadlines, different forms to fill out. Are an essay required? What's the topic and letters of recommendation? So you want to make sure when you look at the different schools that you get all this information. And it could be, a lot of universities are trying to make it simple for you. It's just one form that you fill out, and they might require additional paperwork, but that's where the reps like ourselves will come into play with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, next steps, decision and next steps. So basically what happens, you turn in your FAFSA or TASFA, and then the university or college will get back to you what they'll call an award letter. And an award letter will list everything that you'll get. Grants, Loyola has grants, the federal government will give you grants, work study if you qualify for that. And loans. So it'll list all of that on there. And so what you'll do is start doing comparison, right? You'll, again, with the spreadsheet, you'll say, okay, this is how much school A is going to give me. This is how much money school B is going to give me. And then you use that tuition calculator to kind of figure out, okay, at the end of the day, how much am I really going to be paying, right? And so that's going to help you make that decision. So basically what the slide just mentions is the cost of attendance, how much aid did you get awarded? And at the end of the day, how much are you and your family going to pay? So net price calculator is also a big part of that. We have at Loyola financial like assistance that will help you kind of decipher all that. And when you see loans, we tell students don't freak out. It's going to put that on there. And then if you just need a couple of $1,000s and they give you like $20,000 or $15,000, whatever the amount is, you can only take out how much you need. And we really recommend that you just take as much as you need, because again, these loans you have to pay back. Now, the good thing about these loans are that some of them, if you qualify for a deferred loan, means that you don't have to worry about a subsidized loan. You don't have to worry about paying that back until you graduate college, right? And then if you get an unsubsidized loan, you have to pay that right away. Once you get that money, you got to make the payments on it. So there's different types of loans. And like I said, the interest is typically lower than, like, let's say you go to Wells Fargo or Chase and you ask them for a student loan. Well, typically you have to pay those loans right from the get-go. And then a lot of times those interest rates are a little bit higher than what you'll get from the federal government.
Mm-hmm. And then I just want to chime in. We did include this. This is actually a good website for you guys to utilize when you are comparing costs between universities. Before you're able to compare up to 3 across the board. So you'll be able to see if you already know what FAFSA is giving you for the year, you're able to input that information. If you know what scholarships you're already receiving from your church, hospital, even your employee. For example, I just give the example of like Taco Bell. I know sometimes they give their seniors some scholarships if you apply. It never hurts to apply, but this is a really good website for you guys to utilize. It will ask you questions. Are you going to be living on campus, off campus? Is it out of state, in state? So it will give you the price difference of how much you will be able to, if you want to say, quote unquote, afford to go into that university, and how much you're going to have to pay out of pocket. So I definitely recommend this website.
Cool. So once you discuss it, you get those award letters, and then and actually sometimes I didn't put this on there, but actually some private schools you can, and there's some state schools, you can go to them and say, hey, look, this is what I got from University of Nebraska. Jessica's going to give me this amount, and you're going to give me a little bit less than that. And I really like to go to Jessica's school, but I really like your school, Loyola. And what can you guys do for me? And I tell students this and families this. Not every school will do this, but a lot of the private schools will. Or there's some state schools that might be able to work with you. It's always a good idea to ask to work with the financial aid office if you can. So if you come to me, and since we're a small school, we're only 3,000 students, I work very closely with families to kind of see, I can go to my financial aid office, and actually we have meetings and committee meetings, and we kind of help what they call an appeals process. And so appeals process where students can come up and say, look, I just need an extra $1,000, $2,000, and we go through the committee and we can actually advocate for the students to try to see about getting another award. And then that also brings me to my second point about appealing. So when students and families, especially right now with COVID, a lot of people are losing their jobs, or maybe being what they called furloughed or unemployed for a small amount of time, you can make an appeal. A lot of the universities are asking for students that their parents be unemployed, or at least a change of income, at least 4 to 5 months. So that's one thing you want to make sure. But if it's been a long-term unemployment, they can ask for an appeal, and that way they'll revisit the student's FAFSA, make a recalculation, and it could probably adjust your award letter. Now, again, this is where we have to work with every individual financial aid office. So if you apply to 3 or 4 different schools, you got to work with each one. And a lot of them are going to ask for what they call additional paperwork. So if your parents are unemployed, they want to see maybe the unemployed, if they're getting benefits or anything unemployed benefits, they might not see that, or maybe the termination letter or stuff like that. So there's going to have to be a lot of documentation that's going to need to be provided for the students for that. But just to be aware, there is that appeal process that's available for students.
Really quickly,
yeah.
because I don't know if it shows on here, Ricky, but there was on the chat, and I was trying to respond. There is, they don't accept a request for FAFSA. Can you reapply? And I just want to ask, are you, I guess maybe I'm not getting the question, but are you asking if you apply to FAFSA after the priority deadline, or I guess what is the specific question? Maybe I might not understand. Or Ricky, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, because I was going to ask you the same thing, that I'm not understanding the question. So FAFSA, you can actually do it after it opens October. Priority deadlines usually January, February, depending on the school as well. But yeah, you can do it up until we have students that do it, August, which I wouldn't recommend. But students that they've been putting it off. We have some students that do that, or they didn't think they were going to go to college, but now they are. So they'll go ahead and do that. So you can technically do a FAFSA throughout your year. So
I will say you can go ahead and fill out your FAFSA, you submit it. Sometimes there might be where you need to make some corrections. So you can go back on your FAFSA and make those corrections and then resend that. I think sometimes you might receive an email saying that, there's something missing or anything like that. You're able to make those corrections and then you can go ahead and submit it. Just like Ricky said, though, I wouldn't wait until August, like right before you enter school, because how I kind of consider FAFSA is that the earlier you do it, they have like a lump sum of money, right? So the earlier you do it, a little bit more money that they have, they're able to provide for you. But so slowly, once it starts to go down to like July, August, they're not going to have the money that they used to have, right? Just my experience, I actually filled out my FAFSA maybe my sophomore year in college, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get FAFSA the same amount. I actually submitted my July. I did not get the same amount. So I will say, the sooner you do it, the better. And then it's the same thing. Most of the academic and leadership scholarship, their deadlines are February 1st in February, if not like April. So I just want to reiterate, just, submit your FAFSA as soon as you can.
Right. And like you said, if you didn't get anything from FAFSA, and like I said, it's going to look at the college and how much your family is able to provide. And if it's not a big gap, then you might not receive much aid. But let's say, like I said, things happen, life happens where people lose their job or they, get unemployed. So they always recommend having a FAFSA on file, because you could, like Jessica said, you could always bring it up. And if there's a change of income, then you can update that, and they could rerun, the financial aid at the school can rerun your FAFSA, and hopefully you can qualify for something later on. So it's always good just to have one on file.
I agree.
So yeah, I was going to say that the next decisions, but basically, so once you get those award letters, you'll basically let the school know. And then, May 1st is national decision date. Some schools, you do have to make a deposit. That basically means that for us, like for example, our private schools, that $500 lets us know that you're coming to our school. A lot of state schools, you just say, I'm coming, and just notify them, and that's it. But for us, it's a $500 deposit, because we want to have a good idea of who is really, really interested in coming and who's not. So just make sure you consider that, because a lot of times once you put that deposit down and there's a deadline after May 1st, that's pretty much like I always get students that, I put a deposit, but now I'm not really wanting to go to your school. And then of course it's non-refundable. So just keep that in mind.
And then just to give an example for Nebraska, we also have the enrollment deposit of the due date is going to be May 1st. So whichever institution you're looking at, you want to make sure you do your research and see if they require an enrollment deposit, an early app decision, an honors program if they do, because you want to see when those deadlines are. I will say for us, and just to give an example for Nebraska, we do have a refundable deposit of $250. But we do have a non-refundable for housing. So if you are planning on going out of state, and even just here within state, sometimes those housing fees are non-refundable. So you just want to make sure that you make those notes, add it to your spreadsheet when you need to go ahead and let a college know that you are no longer attending. So if you do want to get that deposit refunded, if it is refundable. So. Awesome.
And then
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions? I was just gonna say, like you said, the next steps. A lot of times, like at our school, since we're a small school, once you make your deposit, then you'll get your housing arrangements and orientation. For a lot of the state schools, the big state school I used to work for, you let us know beforehand, and then housing and stuff like that. They usually get that started right after you get admitted. So it could be anywhere from October, November. That's when they start opening housing, and that's basically it's first come, first serve. So you have to really get on the ball for those housing options.
Mm-hmm. And then just adding to the housing, there are living learning communities. So you want to see if there's one specifically for your major. So let's just say if you're interested in forensic science, business, if once that housing application is open, if you are interested, those spots are also limited. Definitely take advantage of those because you're going to be pretty much on the same floor with the rest of the students who are majoring in accounting, finance, forensic science. And it's just, you know, it's a great way to get together, meet students who are in the same major, and then even have study buddies throughout the semester. So, awesome. Any questions so far? I'm gonna look at the chat real quick, if I can. Ricky, are you able to?
Yeah, it just basically, I think we got all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any new questions yet.
Perfect.
Okay.
We're good.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to the Spanish presentation. So for those of you who are maybe wanting to learn Spanish, feel free to stay. If not, this will be recorded. And then, you know, for those who are wanting this information in Spanish, feel free to stay as well. So, all right. Hola a todos, me llamo Jessica Mascote y soy una consejera de admisiones para la Universidad de Nebraska-Lincoln. Y estamos aquí, estoy aquí con mi compañero Ricky, ahorita se va a introducir.
Sí, gracias Jessica. Me llamo Ricardo Alarcon y también trabajo por una universidad. Mi escuela se llama Loyola University en la ciudad de Nueva Orleans, New Orleans. Y yo también ayudo a las familias y estudiantes para que ojalá que se entren en la universidad. So.
Sí, hoy vamos a hablar sobre becas y ayuda financiera para ayudarles en hacer una decisión y los siguientes pasos en qué tienen que hacer cuando están buscando una universidad o un colegio. Entonces, para solicitar ayuda, o sea, va a haber becas de la universidad, va a haber becas de comunitarias y locales. Entonces, ahorita que ustedes que están aquí en su senior year o a lo mejor su junior year o padres que también están interesados, las becas quieren ya empezar a hacer su lista en cuáles universidades tienen fechas límites. Entonces, por ejemplo, para nosotros, para la Universidad de Nebraska, la fecha límite para unas becas de académico y de liderazgo es el 1 de febrero. Entonces sé que también mi compañero Ricky ofrecen becas también y la fecha límite para esa beca también puede ser en febrero. Unos recursos que sí tenemos y queremos que ustedes sepan es que pueden ir al fastweb.com, al scholarships.com y allí pueden hacer ¿cómo se dice? Profile que ustedes pueden poner su información, que estén interesados, qué carrera quiere estudiar y ya de allí, por ejemplo, para el fastweb.com, allí les van a dar el correo electrónico sobre becas que ustedes pueden aplicar. Les van a dar información sobre la fecha límite en cuanto ustedes tienen que hacer el ensayo y esa información. Ricky, ¿puedes
Sí,
decir tus cosas?
igualmente, estos sitios de internet son muy importantes porque, como dijo Jessica, que nosotros con nada más cumplir el profile, ellos te mandan las becas y los diferentes formas que cumplir. Y muchas veces los estudiantes, la aplicación es gratis para cumplir y no hay costo adicional para hacer eso.
Ujú. Y otra cosa que quería decirles o informarles es que a veces quieren ver si la universidad o el colegio ofrecen aplicaciones que son separados. Entonces, si hay específicamente una aplicación para aplicar para becas de liderazgo o becas académicos. Por ejemplo, para nuestra universidad, ofrecemos las becas académicos allí en esa misma aplicación, pero también ofrecemos un ensayo que ustedes pueden escribir, mandarnos, y es de liderazgo. Allí sí le podemos, va a decir si quieres venir otra vez a la aplicación, llenarlo después, porque esa beca, la fecha límite es el 1 de febrero. Entonces pueden así ya, ¿cómo se dice? Submit sus aplicaciones para la Universidad de Nebraska, y ya después, cuando reciben una decisión que son admitidos, pueden ya después ir a llenar el ensayo para la beca de liderazgo, porque esa fecha límite no es hasta el 1 de febrero. Hay otros recursos que queremos ofrecerles. Estos son buenos sitios de web que ustedes pueden ir. Ahí les van a dar más información sobre otras becas que ofrecen, y aquí son nomás información adicionales que ustedes mismos pueden ver. Otra cosa que sí queremos que sepan sobre las solicitando la ayuda financiera es que van a ver otras cosas. Si están aplicando para la FAFSA, van a ver opciones para subvenciones, préstamos y oportunidades de empleo. Las subvenciones es dinero más que les dan a los estudiantes que no tienen que pagar para atrás. Los préstamos es algo que le van a dar dinero, pero ustedes mismos tienen que pagar después de la escuela, cuando se gradúan, o hay unos que son que tienes que ya pagar luego cuando se gradúan. Las oportunidades de empleo es una oportunidad que el estudiante puede trabajar en el colegio, puede ser en on campus, puede ser sobre departamentos, oficinas allí, que nomás está asistiendo a las personas que, por ejemplo, están trabajando en la oficina de admisiones. Entonces ellos reciben esa oportunidad de recibir ese dinero de la universidad. Pero Ricky, ¿querías a lo mejor decir algo de los préstamos?
Sí, muchas veces cuando ustedes cualifican por el FAFSA, también van a decir, oh, pues a sacar este tipo de dinero. Muchas veces puedes ver que pueden darte miles de dólares, pero yo cuando hablo con los parientes y los estudiantes, yo les digo que nada más lo que necesitan para cubrir sus cursos o sus gastos, ¿verdad? Porque es un préstamo, ¿verdad? Y eso quiere decir que al fin del día debes de regresar el pago, right? So you have to, en inglés dice pay it back. So nosotros decimos y ofrecemos ayuda para que cada universidad tiene gente que le ayuda a ver, oh, este tipo de beca o préstamo necesita es dinero para usted, o si vas a necesita pagarlo atrás, ellos te van a decir cómo trabaja eso.
Y es importante cuando ya, por ejemplo, nosotros, yo y Ricky, somos consejeros de admisiones, entonces nosotros también podemos conectarlos con las personas que trabajan en la oficina de solicitar ayuda, ¿verdad? Financiera. Entonces ellos van a tener más experiencia y más información en cómo ayudarles y qué escoger sobre los préstamos, las subvenciones, que es dinero que les van a dar y que ustedes no pueden o no tienen que pagarlos. Entonces ustedes tienen esa subvención, les va a ayudar a pagar para las clases. Puede también a veces pagar por el housing, que si ustedes también prefieren vivir en el campus, pueden hacerlos, porque hay a veces que universidades, especialmente si están viendo si quieren ir a una universidad o colegio afuera del estado de Texas, entonces requieran que ese estudiante tiene que vivir en el campus por 1 o 2 años. Entonces es importante de saber sus opciones y conectarse con alguien de la oficina que ayuda con los préstamos, con las becas y etcétera. Es importante que ahorita que llenen la FAFSA, las FAFSA es la que les van a ayudar en cuánto dinero el gobierno les va a dar. Entonces, te pueden decir que les van a dar 5,000, pero ese 5,000 es para el año. Entonces, el 5,000 se va a dividir en 2 semestres. Puede ser 2,500 para un semestre y el otro 2,500 para el siguiente semestre. Para aplicar para el FAFSA, las aplicaciones abren el 1 de octubre. Entonces es importante que ya empiecen en octubre, en unas semanas ya, que empiecen a llenar esa aplicación. Si tienen preguntas, ahí les pueden preguntar la FAFSA. Allí va a haber una página que es específicamente todo en español. Entonces, si ustedes tienen preguntas, allí pueden hablar con alguien o ver las preguntas comunes que tienen ofrecidos allí. Otra cosa, como ustedes son de Texas, también hay la TASFA. Entonces, esa es diferente de la FAFSA específicamente para Texas. A veces también si ustedes quieren ir a una universidad o colegio aquí en el estado de Texas, hay a veces que también tienen como una promesa de Texas que ustedes, que les van a dar dinero del gobierno para ayudarles a ir al colegio o universidad por el primer 2 años, 3 años, o etcétera. Entonces es importante que ustedes también se informen sobre esa información. Aquí les damos la TASFA sitio de web que ustedes pueden ir y también saber más información sobre eso. Para estudiantes que son indocumentados o tienen DACA, va a ser otra cosa diferente. Pueden llenar el FAFSA, pero para el Social Security Number son todos ceros o nines. Entonces, si quieren más información sobre eso, yo puedo ayudarles. Yo he trabajado con estudiantes que tienen DACA o son indocumentados. Entonces, yo les puedo ayudar en cómo hacer eso si quieren. O también a veces allí FAFSA les va a dar la información también. Cuando llenan esa información de la FAFSA, la última cosa que les van a dar es algo que se llama el Student Aid Report. Eso va a ser evidencia que les puede ayudar para aplicar para otras becas que son más privadas. Entonces, a veces unas becas requieren o la aplicación requiere algo que dice que necesitan ayuda financiera. Entonces, el Student Aid Report va a servir para eso. Pero mi información va a ser atrás o al último de este slide. Entonces, si tienen más preguntas, se pueden comunicar conmigo o también se pueden comunicar con alguien de la TASFA. Ricky, si quieres decir algo, puedes decir algo.
Nada más, nada más voy a decir del CSS, en inglés se dice, I forgot what it's called, the student profile. And so basically, si estás aplicando por escuelas fuera de Texas, o si quieres ir a escuelas en California o en estados en el parte de los Estados Unidos, ellos quieren que los estudiantes que firmen un reportaje. Es como la FAFSA, pero ellos quieren saber más de la situación financiera de la familia. So, se llama CSS form. I just forgot what the CSS stands for. But,
creo que se llama el College Search
Service,
¿no?
Algo así. Y es más información para ellos. Y pues cuando aplicas para esas universidades, ellos te van a decir, oh, pues necesitas firmar formas adicionales. So, ellos te van a decir si necesitan firmar eso. Nada más quería decirles eso.
Uh-huh. Y eso es también importante que hagan otra lista. Entonces ya tienen una lista que unas universidades que están a lo mejor interesados, porque ustedes ya saben qué programas académicos ofrecen. Si ofrecen algo en biología, en ciencias, o también así como ay, ni puedo, ¿qué quiero decir? En business, ¿cómo se dice business?
Negocios.
Negocios, sí.
Yeah,
Si
yeah.
están interesados en algo en negocios, allí pueden hacer su lista. Es importante que hagan su lista sobre la fecha límite de la beca. Entonces, por ejemplo, para nosotros, la Universidad de Nebraska, nuestras fechas límites para las becas, o especialmente para la beca liderazgo, es el 1 de febrero. Entonces, a lo mejor también para Ricky va a ser otra fecha que ustedes tienen que aplicar para la universidad, llenarlo, someterlo, y ya después van a recibir algo en el correo o correo electrónico que les van a decir qué tipos de becas le estamos ofreciendo.
Sí, sí, y eso es muy importante. Cada universidad tiene su fecha de cuando debe de cumplir sus aplicaciones para scholarships, para becas. Nosotros tenemos febrero 15 también, pero hay unos que para el liderazgo o los estudiantes que son activos en la comunidad o en su escuela, queremos darle más becas igualmente. Nosotros, hay uno que se llama Ignatian Scholarship, y eso es en diciembre, el 1 de diciembre. Cada escuela tiene sus diferentes fechas. Es muy importante que hablas con gente como nosotros para saber cuáles son esas fechas.
Otra cosa que también quiero decir, hay unas universidades que también sus fechas van a ser en diciembre. Ahorita estamos en septiembre y ya nomás nos falta unos meses para diciembre. Entonces tienen que ya hacer su lista en qué tienen que llenar, qué documentos es necesario para completar su aplicación. Van a ver que a veces las universidades van a requerir que ustedes les manden las calificaciones de la escuela, porque vamos a ver el GPA. También van a requerir información sobre qué calificación agarró en la ACT o en SAT. Entonces, esa es otra cosa que requeremos. También van a ver si en la aplicación tienen que llenar sus ensayos para las becas. A veces son en una aplicación o a veces son dos diferentes aplicaciones. Quieren también hacer su lista de qué temas. Si hay un tema que es que cada universidad quiere saber, pueden hacer una, pero nomás cambien el nombre del colegio de la universidad. Entonces, van a tener que hacer eso. Otra cosa, la universidad, hay a veces que uno sí requieren las letras de recomendaciones sobre alguien que quiere llenar. Van a querer hablar sobre su estudiante. Hay a veces que requieren algo de sus maestros, maestras, o alguien que está en la escuela, una consejera, otra persona que sí conozca a su estudiante. A veces, pues sí, no puede ser su padre mismo, pero alguien que profesional fuera de la casa, de la escuela, pueden hacer las letras de recomendaciones.
Sí.
Entonces, siguiente cosa es su decisión y siguientes pasos. Entonces, van a querer revisar y comparar las escuelas. Entonces, ¿qué tipo de ayuda financiera le están ofreciendo? ¿Qué tipos de becas, verdad? Si ya les ofrecieron becas, ¿cuánto les va a costar a ustedes ayudar a su estudiante en ir al colegio? Entonces, también otra cosa que a lo mejor no hablamos, Ricky, pero hay a veces que pueden también los departamentos de la escuela ofrecer becas académicos para su estudiante. Entonces, tienen que ver, ok, entonces esta escuela me va a dar, puede ser 10,000 para el año, pero también cuánto en total para el año les va a costar ir a la universidad. Otra cosa que es importante es que cuántas clases su estudiante va a tomar. Entonces, cada semestre también depende cuánto va a ser el costo, porque si un estudiante va a tomar 4 clases el primer semestre, pero ya después decide 5 o 6 para el siguiente, el costo va a ser diferente. Entonces, también tienen que saber los costos de las clases, del crédito, y aquí el website, no sé si lo puse aquí, no lo puse, pero aquí que se llama el Consumer Finance, es un sitio de web que ustedes pueden ir. Ahí les van a dar los costos de la universidad, la diferencia en qué le están ofreciendo si es de oportunidad de empleo, si son las subvenciones y las becas y también los préstamos. Entonces allí les van a dar la información y ese es algo que sí recomiendo que ustedes hagan cuando están comparando las universidades. Otra cosa que tienen que hacer es, o sea, en total, asegurarse que están ya que ya tienen su decisión. Las universidades y los colegios ofrecen también una fecha límite de mayo o junio que ustedes tienen que decidir si su estudiante va a ir a ese colegio, porque a veces tienen un depósito o una garantía de depósito que ustedes tienen que darles. Entonces, por ejemplo, la Universidad de Nebraska, nosotros requerimos un depósito del estudiante para asegurar su posición con nosotros de 250. Entonces, eso sí es, ¿cómo se dice? Refundable. Entonces, si ustedes dicen, quiero cancelar, mi estudiante de ir a la universidad porque quiere ir a otra universidad, pueden hacerlo, nomás necesitan que contactarnos antes del 1 de mayo o 1 de junio, porque es importante que si quieren recibir ese dinero para atrás, que lo hagan antes de la fecha límite. A veces también requeremos que si ustedes van a vivir en el campus, entonces, por ejemplo, housing, hay a veces que también requieren un depósito para nosotros va a ser de $100. Entonces, eso sí no va a ser, si nos dan los $100, si es antes o después de la fecha límite, esa sí es, no les podemos dar eso porque es non-refundable. Entonces, ¿quieren ver cuáles escuelas requieren ese tipo de depósito? Porque hay algunos que dicen nomás dirnos que sí o no, pero hay otros que es necesario que tenemos que recibir un tipo de depósito.
Sí, es muy importante que hablas con la universidad para saber cuándo son esas fechas. Es muy, muy importante porque para nosotros, nuestra escuela, si usted dice que yo quiero ir, pero te cambiases de decisión, para regresar ese dinero no podemos hacer eso. Y otra cosa que quería decir es en inglés se dice el appeal process. So, cuando ustedes reciben su FAFSA y vamos a decir que uno de sus padres perdió su trabajo, puedes hablar con la oficina de Financial Aid y ellos te pueden ayudarte para ver si pueden conseguir más fondos para su estudiante. Es muy importante que hablan con la oficina de Financial Aid y ese proceso que se llama el appeal process, podemos ayudar a los estudiantes.
Muchas gracias, Ricky. También la otra cosa que queremos decirles es, ya cuando aceptan el paquete de ayuda financiera, ya se pueden inscribir el estudiante en una orientación para estudiantes nuevos. Entonces, esa es otra cosa, otro programa que pueden los estudiantes ir y saber más sobre la universidad, qué van a hacer para el año que entren, qué otros documentos es necesario a veces. Y también de vivienda estudiantil. Si ustedes quieren vivir en el campus, hay a veces que ofrecen programas específicamente para la programa o carrera que su estudiante quiere estudiar. Entonces, si entran en, ¿cómo se llama? Un Living Learning Community, a veces se llaman esos los programas que es específicamente para, puede ser para negocios, puede ser para ciencia o biología o lo que sea. Los estudiantes andan viviendo en un mismo lugar y todos esos estudiantes están estudiando para negocios o ciencia o biología. Entonces es una gran oportunidad para su estudiante de conectarse con otros estudiantes que están estudiando o quieren estudiar la misma carrera. Les ayuda de agarrar grupos para, ¿cómo se dice? Para estudiar, para sus clases, para los exámenes, o también nomás agarrar un tipo de support que les puede ayudar a ese primer año, al siguiente año. Entonces es importante, especialmente si van a ir afuera del estado de Texas. Entonces quiero nomás decir eso. Y también esos son, hay oportunidades para agarrar una posición en esos programas que quieren hacerlo lo antes posible. Entonces, a veces nomás pueden ofrecer 15, 20 o a veces nomás los primeros 50 estudiantes que quieran hacer eso. Entonces, es importante de llenar esa aplicación para vivir en el campus. Y la última cosa que queríamos decir es la vida y la universidad son un viaje, no una carrera. Entonces, tengan paciencia, tengan la lista ya les están escribiendo y sepan que es importante de tomar su tiempo, especialmente cuando están investigando las universidades y los colegios. Es importante que ya tengas toda la información para hacer su decisión y especialmente para su estudiante. Entonces, tengan paciencia y que sepan que no tengan que, no es una carrera. Entonces, nomás tengan paciencia.
Sí. Y nosotros somos aquí para ayudarles. Eso es muy importante. Y nosotros si sepan que ustedes van a entender todo. Es mucha información, pero con la ayuda de nosotros te podemos ayudarte. So, aquí está nuestra información de contacto y si quieres más información, pues déjanos saber.
All right. Thank you all for joining. If you guys have any questions, here is our contact information. And please let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, I also put our DARN website, and we actually have some YouTube videos from our DARN organization up on there as well. So I know there's other general topics. Financial aid, I think, is also covered in there as well. So if you want to have your students go to that YouTube channel, definitely do so.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for all the resources that you've given us. Thank you so much for your expertise in joining us today. I really, really appreciate y'all just taking time out of your day to be with us. And y'all gave some great information. So thank you for that. Sanaya in the chat box says, thank you for the info. I do want to give a special shout out to Mr. Ricky. Happy birthday. Today is his birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Also, it is also Hispanic Heritage Month, so I want to bring awareness to that as well. So happy Hispanic Heritage Month to everyone. And before we leave, I want to do like a brain teaser real quick to try to give away a gift card, okay? So the adults can participate too. So it's not just for the girls that are on the call, but the adults can also participate, okay? So we'll make it quick because it's 3:59, and then I know y'all have a college fair today too. So let's see, we're gonna go with, what does not live but can die? What does not live but can die? Brain teasers here. I need some music, some Jeopardy music playing in the background.
Okay, I'm just gonna say plants. I mean, technically they are living, but right?
No, that's not it. Oh, Kanai says hair. So does not live, so hair can die. A light bulb, a battery. Okay, Soma, you're on to something there. Okay, so the correct answer is a watch. So it doesn't live, but they can die. I might give that to you, Soma, because that's kind of close, because batteries or watches live off of batteries. So maybe I'll give that to you, Soma. Okay, I like to just try to throw something in there, something fun to try to give away a gift card at our workshop. So thanks for playing along with me. Again, thank you both, Jessica and Ricky, for joining us today. I'm sure our girls are going to benefit so much off of this information. I can't wait to get it out to them. All right.
Awesome.
And then just lastly though, I don't
Yeah.
know if Ricky did put it, I know you mentioned the YouTube, but if you guys just go to texasdarn.com, you're going to find hundreds of universities on there with their information, especially a booklet. So it's going to give you key programs of what each university is specializing in or what their key programs are and their deadlines and admission process.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So appreciative. I see it. Got it. All righty. That concludes our workshop for today. So we're going to call it quits right now. Oh, wait, next week, y'all, we have some fun workshops that are coming up. I think there's a paint and sip next week. Y'all can correct me.
Yeah.
She Votes is next week. So we got like some fun events that are coming up next week. So make sure you guys are tuning in and logging on to the workshop.